Imagine sitting down to a meal where the main course weighs 3 tons and the appetizer is an egg large enough to feed an entire village. This wasn't fantasy, this was dinner. Our ancestors were not just survivors, they were the most efficient predators Earth had ever seen. In our first exploration of the extinct menu, we witnessed the fall of mammoths and the hunting of giant armadillos. But that was only the beginning. The human appetite reshaped ecosystems across every continent we touched. Picture a deer standing 7 feet tall at the shoulder, with antlers spanning 12 feet from tip to tip. This was Megaloceros, the Irish elk, though it was neither exclusively Irish nor an elk. It was the largest deer to ever walk the earth. These magnificent creatures ranged across Europe and Asia, their massive antlers growing heavier each year until they spanned the width of a small car. For hundreds of thousands of years they thrived. Then humans arrived. We didn't just hunt them for meat, we coveted those massive antlers, using them as tools, symbols, and trophies. Cave paintings in France still show these giants frozen in ochre and charcoal, a record of respect and hunger. Within a few thousand years of human contact, Megaloceros vanished forever. But humans didn't stop at the edge of Europe. We crossed land bridges into Australia, and there we found something even stranger. Diprotodon looked like nothing alive today. Imagine a wombat, but enlarged to the size of a hippopotamus. Weighing nearly 3 tons, these gentle giants were the largest marsupials to ever exist. They waddled through prehistoric Australian forests, grousing on leaves and shrubs, their pouches carrying young the size of small dogs. They had survived ice ages and droughts. They had outlived predators that could crush bone, but they had never encountered anything like us. Aboriginal Australians hunted Diprotodon for thousands of years, using fire to drive them into traps, exploiting their slow movement and predictable patterns. By 46,000 years ago, the last Diprotodon fell. The largest marsupial in history became another entry on our growing list. Yet humans were just getting started. We built boats, we crossed oceans, and when we reached the isolated islands of Madagascar, we found something that would make any predator pause. The elephant bird, or Aepyornis, stood 10 feet tall and weighed over 1,000 pounds. It was the heaviest bird to ever live, flightless and powerful, capable of delivering a kick that could shatter bone. But it was the egg that doomed it. A single elephant bird egg weighed 22 pounds and held the equivalent of 150 chicken eggs. For hungry human settlers navigating the Indian Ocean in outrigger canoes, these eggs were not just food, they were treasure. Archaeological sites across Madagascar reveal elephant bird eggshells clustered around ancient fire pits, some even showing signs of being cooked. The birds themselves were likely hunted too, but it was the systematic harvesting of their eggs that sealed their fate. By the 17th century, the elephant bird was gone, leaving behind only shell fragments and legends of the roc, a mythical bird of enormous size. From tropical islands, humans pushed into the cold north, and there in the cold waters of the Bering Sea, we found a creature so docile it seemed to want to be eaten. Steller's sea cow was a relative of the manatee, but far larger, growing up to 30 feet long and weighing 10 tons. It had no fear of humans. When naturalist George Wilhelm Steller first described them in 1741, he noted that these gentle giants would approach boats, seemingly curious, offering no resistance when touched. They fed on kelp in shallow waters, slow and trusting. For sailors and hunters in the North Pacific, this was an easy meal. One sea cow could feed an entire crew for weeks. The meat was said to taste like corned beef, the fat like sweet almond oil. Within just 27 years of European discovery, Steller sea cow was hunted to extinction. We didn't need thousands of years, we needed less than 3 decades. But perhaps no extinction story illustrates human hunting pressure quite like what happened in North America to a bird so numerous it was said the sky itself was alive. The passenger pigeon was not a giant, it was not slow or defenseless, it was, quite simply, abundant. In the early 1800s, flocks of passenger pigeons numbered in the billions. A single migrating flock could stretch for 300 miles, darkening the sky for days as it passed. There were more passenger pigeons than any other bird on Earth. But abundance bred contempt. Hunters used nets, guns, and even cannons loaded with scrap metal to bring down thousands at a time. The birds were packed into train cars and shipped to city markets, sold for pennies per dozen. We treated the infinite as if it could never end. By 1900, the wild flocks were gone. On September 1, 1914, the last passenger pigeon, a bird named Martha, died alone in the Cincinnati Zoo. A species that once numbered in the billions was reduced to 0 in less than a century. These were not monsters, they were not predators that needed to be destroyed. They were food, and we ate them until there was nothing left. The pattern repeats across every continent, every island, every shoreline humans reached. We came, we saw, we consumed. From the giant deer of Europe to the massive marsupials of Australia, from the egg-laden birds of Madagascar to the trusting sea cows of the Arctic, our ancestors left a trail of empty nests and silent forests. We like to think of extinction as something that happens to animals, but sometimes extinction is something we served for dinner. And somewhere, in a cave painting or a fossil bed, the next course is waiting to be discovered.